Hello, everybody. This is Karsten. Let's see if this already goes live at LinkedIn Live. If you're listening to this at LinkedIn Live, then everything has worked, but we will see. So I want to debrief or tell you a little bit about the Rethink EAM, which was also actually at the same time or co-located with the Rethink IT and something on operations side, but I'm not an operations guy. I'm more on the strategic side. So anyway, so the Rethink EAM was a conference in Berlin, focused very specifically on enterprise architecture, at least that part. So I want to debrief and let you know a little bit about what I think, what I liked about it, what I think should be improved there, but also some key takeaways and some insights I took out of it. So what I really enjoyed was the people. It's just like a nice community. It was nice to see a lot of like familiar faces, but also get to know some enterprise architects that I haven't met so far. So which is always amazing because we're such a small community, so it's a lot of familiar faces. But there's also new faces. So that was good. I liked the setting. It was professionally in like the hotel palace. So everything was very well organized. So that was good. The content I liked a lot, and I will talk about that in a second here. But it was a lot of like practitioners talking about kind of like their EA, what they're doing, what has worked for them, what hasn't worked, and that is always something that I like. And I also see a lot of like repetitions. I've been to lots of conferences over the last 20 years in that space, so it is something where yeah, it's good to hear something again, but it's also yeah, heard this already a couple times. Um, so that's what I liked. What I think probably could have been better is the co-location. It was sometimes especially with they used an app or like a website for it, you were focused only on the EA one. It was hard to kind of like break out of it and see what are talks that are going on in the other one. So there wasn't really that much of a cross-pollination with the other tracks, or didn't feel as like really one big conference from that perspective. I think another one was the diversity. I actually have to look it up, and I think it was like 10%, 15% of the speakers or something like that were, oh yeah, 10% of the speakers were women. So I think 10% is the organizers of a conference do a really poor job if that is all you can come up with. So that's just like something I think we as a whole group in enterprise architecture and IT really need to be better at, bring more diversity, more different perspectives in, because that's how we grow as a community. So from the content, what I found interesting, there was like two talks that also talked about capabilities. One was from E.ON, and the other thing I think from Sachsen-Energie, so like a small organization and a very big one. And knowing E.ON, I worked in their EA department for a couple of years as a consultant. So E.ON is just to give you some background, E.ON is a huge multinational energy distribution, but also like network. So they have like the networks. They do have the customer facing side. They have like so many other domains that they operate in the energy market. And with that, and that across many countries in Europe. So with that comes a lot of complexity in there. I think it's 1,000 legal entities that kind of like work on that. So of course, that capability-based planning and using capabilities is a very great way to do it, but it also comes with lots of different challenges and having different subtypes and subgroups and distinguishing of those capabilities of like what area do they fall in. Is it kind of like the network or the customer solutions, etc.? So they really are challenged more on that side, and I think it takes more time to get it right there. And on the other hand, it was kind of like the capabilities of the smaller organization was kind of like harder to get capabilities in the first place, because there isn't institutionalized a lot of knowledge or lots of EAs talking with business about the concept of capabilities. It's more kind of like one person doing it and then kind of like saying, this is good enough, it works, it gets me to where I want to discuss something with the business. So a totally different approach on, you need to define it, you need to like have it standardized, you need to make sure it's kind of like follows the right naming patterns, etc., which is kind of like more important in bigger organizations, but it's small, it's not. So that was just like interesting to see how some of those best practice talks from or practitioner talks have very different perspectives on it because your size matters. And the other thing that I found very good, I think it was Gunnar from 𝗏𝗏 discussed about like architecture principles and how they are such an important, or how they play such an important role in the world of VUCA, where everything is like volatile, constant change, ambiguous. So it is something where the more principled form for your EA work really helps, because it's not something you need to capture the ever-changing things, but you give guidance in the ever-changing world. And I think that's a very important point that we also discuss with our clients, is like, find some principles, find your goals, define your priorities, and then some of the nitty-gritty details might become irrelevant, or then you don't boil the ocean in areas where you say, let's not focus on it. That was in general a good talk, and I know kind of like 𝗏𝗏 is very open, like Marcel or Gunnar are very good people to reach out to and to collaborate. I like from, I think it was Cyberport, they come up with like a KPI for sizing. So although Cyberport is kind of like a retailer in electronics, they do have like a billion revenue, and with that, his sizing is, okay, I'm doing like 50 projects per year that have like some IT impact. And for those, I do 100, like in total, 100 EA visualizations. So that's just like something that I found also an interesting sizing to give kind of like a perspective on how much you contribute as EA, but also potentially an industry benchmark that I thought of. That would be a great way to say, okay, where's your EA organization fall into? What kind of like revenue do you support, but also how many projects, how much change comes in, and how often do you have to, or how many visualizations do you have to do? The other thing that I found very interesting was soccer. That was soccer. Everybody that knows me personally is soccer of football. Like, sorry, I'm like Americanized branded here. It's something that is an exciting sport worldwide, but is was very interesting to talk to IT or CIOs, IT leaders from very like the top professional clubs in Germany. Of course, you can argue because Bayern Munich wasn't in there, but anyway, so it was like really very high-profile clubs like RB Leipzig and Wolfsburg, etc. So it was interesting how their IT organizations, like I talked with them also before and after their session. It was just like very interesting. Very small IT organization from kind of like full-time staff, but also like lots of outside augmentation comes in here. if you think of like the data analytics of players, who should we buy? There's like lots of data coming in from other providers. It's a lot of like with the ticketing systems, like all that is something where and the cashier systems, but it's still something that they need to manage with their rather small team, even if you kind of like buy in all these solutions. And it's something where they can also correlate, which I found like very interesting, correlate the result of satisfaction scores that people say like, yeah, how did they like how the cashier system or how like catering worked? And if the team lost, the catering didn't work as well as if the when the team won. So of course there's like some sure, but it's also nice how kind of like they ran this and can actually like calculate how much kind of like is the influence of the result with the feedback they get. And another thing that I found interesting is that they use AI already to see and to monitor attendance in the stadiums and see, okay, how many people that purchased it showed up. And yes, they correlate that also with kind of like the ticketing and like came into it, the stadium, but also how many people then actually sit at kind of like the seats or like in the freestanding ones. And is there anything where they can potentially also do overselling because they know based on weather and the competition that's coming to like the game they are playing, how much of those will actually show up. And similar to like airlines that oversell tickets now for their flights, they can oversell tickets because they say, okay, especially in like free seating or free standing areas where there is no fight over like one specific seat, we can oversell and like still be in our legal boundaries. So that was just like interesting how some of that AI and calculations and learnings from the past makes them better and serving the fans and making sure more people can have an enjoyable soccer match. So that was some of my points and key takeaways from like the content. There's a lot more, of course, to that, but I don't want to kind of like overextend it here and just have like a short debrief. It's definitely a conference to look for it again. There's a couple of things that I felt could be improved. I mentioned the diversity, but also there is some. You could see that some of the people there were kind of like engaging on a vendor level, or were like a lot of people were invited from the vendor. So it was kind of like the commercial side of the conference was also driving a little bit the conference, which is same, I think, in many other conferences as well. But that's just like something that, yeah, I do not like too much. The other thing that I do like is it was also good to talk to some of those exhibitors and make also connections there. So it's always something that I enjoy. I know some others think that the marketplaces or exhibitions from companies are kind of like a something you have to go through when you go to a conference, but it really is something where I think you can connect to really nice people, but also it is something where I always learn something new about like solutions and what's going on in the market. And I highly recommend, especially if you're in EA, to go to all the vendors in the marketplace, because you're at the conference, you're at the networking or like a coffee break anyway. So it is something to talk to, get to know like the latest, where they're heading, where's like the future also. Where's kind of like, what do they do with cloud, RPA, artificial intelligence, things like that, where you can just like also ask like some other things and then get some insights out for yourself. And who knows, maybe there is a new project coming in where you have to guide your business area on a new solution, and knowing some more solutions out there always helps in putting things into perspective. So that was my quick 15, 60-minute rundown of the Rethink EAM. I do not know if I will come back next year, but let's see that. Happy to share if you do have other questions or want to know more. You can always hit me up on LinkedIn or send me post in a comment here. I don't see any comments here right now. If there is anything where you say you want to know more about what we do, you can also go and see recordings of like this, but also a lot of other insights from our webinars. I just did yesterday one on information security strategy, but there's way more available on the Lean 42 Academy. Highly recommend you to join that for free, grow your knowledge. This is all about growing the capacity that we have in enterprise architecture, IT leaders, and really make sure we are performing better for the people we work with, for the organizations we work in, to make us all more successful. So with that, thank you so much for listening in. Again, if you do have questions, hit me up, and hope to see you soon somewhere around. Take care. Bye-bye.